So a few weeks ago, I did mention if you guys submit me questions, I could put together at the end of this month a mailbag type episode. And you guys submitted me questions because you guys are fantastic, and I love each and every one of you viewers and subscribers to my channel. You guys have been super loyal, and I wanted to give back to you guys by answering your questions on my mailbag episode. So you guys submitted me some really great questions. And quick side note too, as I haven't even seen the questions yet. So there's a few questions here we got for this episode. Producer Liz took a look at the questions, pulled the best ones, cut them up, crinkled them up, put them in a little jar, and I'm going to be pulling them out at random throughout this episode and answering them. So make sure you stay tuned to see if your question gets on the show. And let's get started here with the first question. All right, guys, here it is, this beautiful little question jar. So there's 9 questions in here that I'll pull through right here at random. Again, haven't even seen it, so I'm going to randomly swish them around here. So first question here, let's see if I could read Producer Liz's handwriting. It's from Instagram, and it's at Jacob_D_S_7. So I'm just going to call you Jacob. Who is your favorite CPL team? Well, my favorite CPL team, I don't really like to pick favorites. I like to be unbiased the best I can, but at the same time, I do live in Winnipeg, so I gotta support the local team. Plus, you know, I get along pretty well, at least I think I get along pretty well with some of the younger players on the team. Shout out to you guys, I love you guys. But I will have to say, if I had to pick a favorite team in the CPL, it's gotta be my home team, the team I support with my season tickets and all that, and that would go with Valor FC. So Valor FC would probably be the closest thing to a favorite team I have in the CPL, but at the same time, I love every team in the Canadian Premier League. All of them, including the ones that haven't come yet, and possibly Quebec and Ottawa and whatnot. So next question. All right, guys, so second question. Question number 2 here. Let's go around here and see which one it is. So my next question, again from Instagram. By the way, I think all the questions, if I'm not mistaken, actually were pulled from Instagram. So on Instagram, at SRGIO, Sergio maybe, 214. So I'm going to call you Sergio. Are you happy with the amount of young Canadian players being played in the CPL right now? Well, Sergio, I do actually. I really like the league itself, the whole mandate of the league. The reason why it's around is so it can obviously produce and develop good young Canadian players, and I think we've seen that a lot so far in year 1. I mean, the amount of young players who are like 23 and under right now who are starting and playing regularly so far through, I think, you know, as of this recording, we're just starting off match day 4. I mean, this has been fantastic the last 3 weeks, just seeing these young Canadians play and develop, and this is what the league is for, and you're going to see it a lot more as the years go by and as there's more clubs and just more opportunities. You're going to see it more often than you're going to see it this year, that's for sure. So the more teams, you're going to see it a lot more. So I'm definitely loving it. I love to see the next generation of Canadians, those prospects, if you will. And so that's my answer for you, Sergio. Good question, by the way. So, and all of them are great questions. That's why producer Liz only produces the best. That's why she's part of the AFC Curtis team. So next question here is, well, I got 2 here. Okay, we got the next one here. So the next one is on Instagram from at Graham Gaincola. I hope I probably butchered that last name. I think Graham watches my show, I know, consistently, so he knows that I butcher last names. And so this one, I'm just gonna call you Graham. So Graham, thank you, by the way, for watching and commenting and liking my stuff, because I do see that and I appreciate that. So thanks, buddy. But my question here goes to me, and it says, hello, A.F.C. Curtis. Hello, Graham. Would you be a great CPL player? Would I be a great CPL player? Producer Liz laughing. I'm gonna have to say, unfortunately, no, because I don't have the training that some of these young lads have gotten. I'm not even as young as the youngest player in the CPL. I'm a lot older. As you could tell, I'm 53. Just kidding, I'm not. But not even close, thank God. But no, I wouldn't say I would be a great Canadian Premier League player. These guys have been training and playing for a lot of years to growing up in the sport of soccer. I haven't so much, and that's why, you know, I'm in front of the camera rather than playing on the pitch. So that's my answer to you, Graham. But good question. Look, I can see that, I could tell by the question that you believe in me, and that I could be possibly a great CPL player. So next question. So this one looks like it's a long one here. From Instagram, at A Grizzly James. So James, What's your opinion on the Voyageurs Cup setup? Does the amount of buys to later rounds received by teams deter from the true legitimacy of the competition? Well, James, for that, I mean, to be honest with you, I think, okay, it's only going to be for this year because there's so few teams. I mean, in the past there was, I think it was 3, when the tournament started in 2008, there was about 3 clubs, maybe 4 clubs. I think it was actually 3 clubs that participated. So for it, in 11 years later, 2019 now, to have as many clubs as we have now. I mean, we have, what, 13 clubs competing in it this year, which is great. And yes, there are buys just because there's an odd number of teams right now, but as the league, the Canadian Premier League that is, grows, there will be a lot more clubs. I don't see there being any more Canadian clubs in the MLS. If Ottawa Fury exists, I think most likely, hopefully it comes to the Canadian Premier League one day. If not, who knows? Other than that, if there's any more growth in terms of Canadian teams joining into the tournament, it's most likely through the Canadian Premier League or like a 2nd division or 3rd division of the CPL. I'm not too really sure the long-term plans for, you know, the League One and the PLSQ champions, if they'll still join the competition. So that's kind of an interesting aspect to look for in the future. But I think as for having the buys and legitimacy, I think it's kind of tough right now because in terms of legitimacy, if I could speak today, just because it is, you know, there's only 13 teams right now, so most likely the MLS clubs will win because they have more spending power. So I mean, that kind of does hurt the legitimacy right now, but in 10 years, I think things will change. So that's my answer to you. So next question here, pull it out here. From Instagram at the Will MC Mill or Mick Mill. There we go. Can't read it today. What is your opinion on York 9 goalkeeper Nathan Ingham? Well, with Nathan Ingham, I think he's actually really impressed me a lot. I didn't know a whole lot about him coming in, so it's kind of tough to see if back in April when he signed, I believe it was, I didn't really for sure know if he would be the starting goalkeeper. Matt Silva looked really good too to me. That's why I had Matt Silva over him. But obviously Ingham had a really great preseason in April, started the season as a starter, and has really impressed me. I think, honestly, I think low-key, dark horse-wise, I think he's probably one of the top goalkeepers in the Canadian Premier League because for me, he's been the star for York 9 this season. He has been their star keeper. I mean, they probably would have lost the match. In the inaugural match, they would have lost if it wasn't for him, for sure. And then the match against, you know, any of their matches, really, he's been their best player. So he's impressed me. That's my answer for that question. So next question here as we continue. Another really big one here. So another good question here from at Grizzy James. He says, what's your opinion on the current league format and what would be your ideal format of the CPL in the future? So what's my opinion on the current league format and my ideal format for the CPL in the future? I think I actually really like the current format. I don't know if you guys seen any of my earlier stuff, but I think it was in January there. I had a video where I kind of was against having the CPL have playoffs, and I sort of got a lot of heat on it and also sort of didn't 50-50 because that was how it was split in terms of the fan base. But at the end of the day, I think it was, you know, I like the format. I think it's perfect because it gives you that single table format, but it gives you like 2 mini seasons in one calendar year. And I mean, that's a lot of fun because it gives those clubs that maybe have a rough first half of the year, a rough spring season, they still have potential in the fall season to win. And it's almost like it's 2 different types of seasons because one's kind of like a sprint and the other one's a marathon, is the best way I could put it. Because one season, the spring season only has 10 matches, whereas the fall season has 18 matches, right? So it's a great kind of 2 different types of formats and diversity there, which is perfect for this league. And so for me in the future, I hope they kind of keep it the same, to be honest with you. I think it's fine just the way it is. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm interested to see, with more clubs added to the mix, how it affects it, for the good or the bad. But that's my answer for that one. So, all right, so next question here. I'm gonna pull out. Okay, so this next one is also from Instagram, and it's at Arnold_Empathy_Jr. Again, probably really butcher that. and I'm really sorry the last name. So Arnold says, what's the minimum salary for the Canadian Premier League players? So the minimum salary for the Canadian Premier League players is, I don't know, nobody really knows unless you're connected to the CPL. If they're saying that they know, then they either have an in or they're just pulling out a number. And they kind of have kept it pretty close to the vest, kind of similar to how the CFL kind of works, where they kind of don't like to throw out numbers there. The league minimum, I'll tell you, not the minimum, but the average for the Canadian Premier League, though, is sitting around, I think it was $40,000 roughly. But that's also, when I do tell people the numbers on the average number for the salary for these players, it is because that's the average salary, but they also get other things part of their contract. So they get incentives, possibly their house. I've heard in the past for this current crop of players getting signed that they've had incentives like their houses maybe have been covered. They even get like an eating allowance, stuff like that. So it's like they get paid, plus they also get these added values, let's say. So it kind of ups the value of the contract a little bit higher, makes it a little bit better of a number. So then you're not just basically getting $40,000 flat, and then you have to make payments on your house and all that stuff. You're getting that plus your house and your food possibly covered, and maybe gas and whatnot. So I mean, that's just a little insight to how the Canadian Premier League did contracts this year, just because the CPL salary cap is a bit lower. I think it's about at $775,000, if I'm not mistaken, roughly around there. So next question. Good questions, by the way. I love the questions here. So the next question, and it looks like the second last question on my first ever mailbag episode right here on AFC Curtis. And the next question here goes to Instagram, and it's at Al, again, I'm going to probably screw this last name up a little bit, but Ali_L_Jamal. And what he asks is, what do you think about what do you think about creating a team in the province of Quebec? Well, Ali, I think that it's going to be something that I think is needed. I think there's a lot of great talent in the province of Quebec. I honestly, in my mind, I think there's a great talent all across Canada. I think the Canadian Premier League has been showing that with, there's a lot of great Winnipeg-born players who look really good right now on Valor. There's a lot of good Ontario players, as we knew. And, of course, Pacific FC has had a lot of great young BC players come out of there. So that's all great. So I think the province of Quebec, it needs some Canadian Premier League clubs. I know Alex Bunbury there has talked about in the past about bringing clubs. He said at the end of this month he's hoping for an announcement of not just one but two clubs coming to the province of Quebec, probably Quebec City and Laval area there. So I mean, those are it's going to be great just to get a foothold in the province of Quebec. I think we, as a Canadian Premier League type province, let's say, I think Quebec would go all in on the CPL versus maybe the MLS. I just have a feeling about it. And with that, I think they're going to be hugely supported very well across the whole province. So they're going to start off with two clubs in the province of Quebec, with the Quebec City and Laval, but I think they'll expand, and I think I can see them being 3, maybe 4 cities or locations in Quebec at least with a Canadian Premier League club. So that's just my 2 cents, in my opinion, on the province of Quebec and the CPL. But I do think we need some Quebec clubs as early as 2020 in the CPL. We just need to. There's too many good talent out there that we can't have not have one. So here we go, guys. The last question. Just gonna put it down here. It's the last question of the very first ever mailbag episode of AFC Curtis. So we're gonna take a look here. And it's also from at Ali_L_Jamal. So the last question. So I think there's 2 or 3 guys here that had about 2 questions in this episode. So again, thank you guys too for submitting your questions. You can keep submitting me questions. If you keep submitting me questions and I get enough questions, I'll definitely more than happy to roll out another mailbag episode in a couple weeks to a month or even 2 months down the line. So definitely keep doing that. But here we go. Last question is, do you think that the League One Ontario and Premier League Soccer Quebec could be the second division of the CPL? Well, Ali, I'm going to say it would be nice, because if you look at how the Canadian Championship tournament has gone in 2019, both the champions of those 2 respective leagues have done pretty well against a lot of good players from the CPL sides that have been starting this year. At the same time, though, I'm not really sure how the ownership is all set up there with those 2 leagues and with their clubs. So I think in terms of spending, I can't really see them being able to spend to the other Canadian Premier League clubs I mean, you're looking at also smaller venues, smaller, stadiums. These players, I believe, are semi-professional, so they're not getting paid a crazy amount of money. They still have a full-time job during the day, or maybe you're in school. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it would be nice to see it, but I kind of, I think talent-wise, there's some potential there. Clearly there is. You can see it in the Canadian Championship this year. But at the end of the day, I don't know if they, in terms of financials, I can't see them being the second division for the Canadian Premier League. Maybe down the line, like a third division type club, possibly. And if there is pro reg, then give them a chance to fight their way into Division 2. But they're going to have a difficult time over a long span of time trying to compete with these clubs and trying to win. I mean, this is just a 1-2 match situation in the Canadian Championship. I would like to see them compete for 28 matches then, and that's the true test financially if they have the players to compete against the York 9 or against the Valor or against the Cavs. I mean, that's just my 2 cents. That's my opinion. But hey, you never know down the line if they could join as a second division. So guys, that was my very first ever AFC Curtis mailbag episode, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it. I love the questions that you guys submitted to me. There wasn't a whole lot of questions. That's why we just did the 9 questions today. But if you guys keep submitting me questions, I also did blow it a little bit, and I did answer some questions on social media before. And that's why we didn't have as many questions. But if you guys keep submitting me questions, I'll hold on to them. If we can get a good number of questions in the next couple weeks, I'll definitely more than happy do a second mailbag episode, or maybe even do this as a monthly or every 2 months type thing. I'd love to do that so I can communicate back and forth with you guys. You guys have a bunch of great questions. Thank you to those guys out there and girls who submitted the questions to me on Instagram. A bunch of great questions. Helped me out a lot with this episode, with this mailbag episode. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like button, the thumbs up button to show me you like episodes just like this. And if you want to see more content just like this, maybe consider hitting that red subscribe button. Oh, and also you can watch my content over at northernstarting11.com. So the link for that I'll have down in the description below. You're going to want to check that out now because there's a bunch of great Canadian soccer podcasts there for everything in the Canadian soccer industry, from podcasts to vlogs, covering it all. So definitely check it out down in the description below. And until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching.